Good evening. Welcome to New Orleans Television Internetwork TV Internetwork System. We're back with you this week doing our regularly scheduled Thursday evening talk show called Revue. As you know, this is a little 5-minute interlude where we just give you some background about ourselves, the station, before we actually start the show. Gives people time to sign on, so hopefully people will be on when we're ready. As you know, we're co-hosted, and we'll introduce the gentleman a little bit. And normally, we speak on his specialty for a good portion of the show, and then I throw in my little 2 cents from either background or just contemporary information. But you were kind enough to bear with me last week when I was going through the wherewithal of COVID and explaining to you not only my journey, but also what I had done to get relief. I can still have you here a little residual, but the antibody infusion did a tremendous job after about 3 days. Supposed to be two, but gave my strength back, and slowly but surely I'm not coughing nearly as much, although I'm sure I'll cough at least once in the show, and just have this residual nasal sound, which is just the way it goes. Um, for those who are not familiar with the programs, New Orleans TV and Network System is comprised right now of approximately 13 programs. Some of them been on for a while. Some of them are new and trying to launch pending guest or co-host. And we're also looking for new ideas. Again, what we'd love for you to do is to send us any ideas or people you'd like to see on the show to either Bob at rreview.net or on Facebook, anywhere you see my mug or one of these things. And we'll be glad to address that and certainly give any opportunity to a talented individual who wants to come and show their wares and or discuss stuff. Since, as you know, originally last year we tried to start a daily talk show, or at least weekly, and we had problems with the callers, and we finally resolved that. That's when we started here with our current show. However, we are toying with the idea of going back to a day show as well, where it'll just be me, if we can get people to call in, because that's the key there. Even though we appreciate it, again, you can comment on any of the social media platforms that you watch, whether it's any of our three Facebook, whether it's on our co-host's Facebook, Derek Russ, whether it's on YouTube channel or Revue, whether it's on LinkedIn, which is our Revue, Twitter, Bachman Bob. I think that's everyone. And any of our co-hosts followers can watch and also comment directly on his platforms. So we'd love for you all to send us comments during the show, but more importantly, our phone number, and I'm going to try and remember to say it often, 504, which you have to say nowadays, even in Louisiana, anywhere in New Orleans, 383-3654. Please give us a call because we want to verify it's working, especially as we anticipate starting a weekly morning show and want to make sure everything's copacetic with that again. Uh, so 504-383-3654. As you can see, it'll stay on the screen the entire show. So that way, if you want to try. So please give us a call just to say hello. But don't forget, you can comment on any platform that you watch us, and we will acknowledge your comments as well as, try and answer if there's any questions. We appreciate you coming back to us this week. And like I said, I know we've had struggled, one with the COVID and two with some changes and dates because of other things. But for the most part, we're going to try and keep this Thursday night program at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And unless we see a lot of people complaining or want to do it at a different time, then let us know that. We'll certainly entertain that as well. And this is a good time for our co-host because he has a full-time job in the day, and therefore it gives him time to get free time to actually cooperate with our show. Okay, as you can see, we've just changed. We're now on our logo for the Rights Review program. We always have the megaphone because that always gives you a chance to talk. But what we're going to do now is go ahead and bring in our co-host. Welcome, Derek Russ. Good evening, Derek. How are you?
Good evening, Bob. How are you doing this evening?
Well, as you can see, I still got a little residual, but I'm feeling 100% better. That's the key. I mean, you can live with a head cold or whatever that is, a nasal situation. I can live with it any time. It's just not the most attractive sounding thing. So
Well, I'll tell you, you're looking much better. You sound great. So
there's
you're
no
back
way
in the swing.
there's no way that first statement can be true. But anyway, I am remiss. I do have to ask, and I hate to do it on air, but I had not followed up with you. Derek's mom, unfortunately, had a bout of illness recently, was in the hospital, got out, and had to be readmitted. May we ask, if it's not too personal, how is she doing?
Yeah, she's doing much better. Thanks for asking, Bob.
Is
She's
she still in the?
recovering.
Okay.
She's doing well. I
Has she
appreciate
is
you
she
asking.
still in the hospital or has been discharged?
Yeah, she should be discharged on tomorrow.
Oh, excellent. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. We're so glad.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's great news.
yes, of
Great
course.
news.
I know you've been on standby. He's been very considerate. I was writing him off for this week because of that personal situation, which of course family always comes first with all of us,
Right.
as we all
You're
know.
absolutely correct on that. But I'm glad to see you, man. You're doing much better. You sound great.
Wow, you should be my doctor. You need to add another thing on your title, doctor. Anyway,
So I'm guessing the monoclonal injection
yeah,
is
they of course they told
work.
us. Well, when I had it, they were telling me 12 hours to 48 hours, meaning 2 days maximum. And I have to admit, I was very disappointed. Of course, that would have been a midnight on the second day. And, I wasn't up for that. I wanted to go to sleep. As long as I could sleep, that was great. But when I woke up the next morning, I still didn't have stamina a little bit, but anyway, during the day, more and more my strength came back, which made me feel much better because I could get out of bed, couldn't do a lot of work. I still didn't have that strength, but certainly enough to. And then slowly but sure, by the weekend, other than, like I say, this residual nasal drip or whatever it's called, I don't know, like congestion or terms, I've been pretty much in the pink. So, and each day I've been trying to do a little bit more work, around the house or projects without straining myself. Nothing really tedious. And today was the first day I really went outside in the afternoon, sat on the porch, and I have a tendency, we get a lot of packages, so I wind up tearing up the cardboard and putting them in plastic bags rather than just try and compress all those packages. So it gets therapeutic and also gives me a chance to see nature as well as some of our neighbors or people passing by. So it's quite entertaining for an old person, especially someone who's been basically confined to the indoors for several weeks now. So
Right,
it
right,
was
right,
a real delight. But okay, now as I started off, we really appreciate the people bearing with us last week and hearing about my personal medical journey, but also with the anticipation of what has resulted with regard to improvement. And it wasn't just because because I usually don't like to talk about my personal stuff at all, but because I wanted to show all of us who are so concerned today, and even more so every day, we get more concerned because the news just gets bleaker and bleaker and
mm,
bleaker
yeah,
to the point now where the conjecture is that everyone will get COVID. I
right,
mean, I hate to say that, and God forbid. And also, I want everyone to keep up their any of the measures in the hopes if they've not gotten it. But everyone I talked, my neighbors today came out to say hello, and they didn't even know I had it, and they were telling they had it about the same time. So,
oh
it,
wow,
yeah, so it's really amazing how many people are afflicted with it since at least the first of the year, because that seems to be after
right,
that holiday. Seems like when most of the people are getting it left and right. So
right,
don't despair, but please don't give up your. And I was so happy today because yesterday I ordered the new. I've been using cloth mask. I had them made and they're comfortable and pretty, allegedly pretty, but realized how bad they were for this situation. So I went online because of course we can't find any of the supplies, as everyone knows, test or supplies anywhere. So at the press, so I ordered online. It came yesterday a package of 10 of the N95s. So I was
mhm,
real pleased with that. And I started wearing it tonight, and it does definitely feel like it's more containing than the
right,
cloth, which was you could feel air going through and it fits more snug, which is of course the key here in these
right,
masks.
right. Yeah.
So if
Now
you
that,
don't find any, and I know they keep promising that both tests and these things are going to be coming, whether it's coming free through some mechanism. We're still talking about weeks. We're not talking about as soon as
Right.
they announce it, they're going to be available that day. So
Right.
what I would recommend that you at least go online and look for an Amazon or Google
Mhm.
N95. And of course, there's variations K95, which is from Korea, I believe, or China, and another letter 94, which is Korea. Try and get the N95s. Those are usually U.S. made. But if you can get them, even if it takes a week, which I don't think it will. Mine came, well, I have Amazon Prime, so it came in a couple of days. So that was great. And
Mhm.
even though it was right between $10 and $20, I forgot for the 10. So it was a little expensive, but the assurance that I know I have them in house while I'm waiting for these other opportunities is once again a psychological lift. So I would
Right.
wholeheartedly encourage, if you have the ability to buy something online and you have access to at least Google, if not Amazon, try and order yourself a box of these, because, and again, if you have more in your family, you can split them up because there are 10, some of them are 20. You can buy any size box from 10 up, but buy
Mhm.
at least the least expensive and the $10 ones, 10 bucks, and that way you and your family can have some protection right now, especially if you have to go out, because not all of us have the luxury of being inside, even if we're still feeling poorly or in that susceptible stage, that
Right.
transmissible stage.
Right.
So, well, I don't want to do too much. So, regard that. I think we've exhausted it, but I wanted to just give my progress update and continue what I'm continuing. Hopefully, it's sinking into some of the folk that will also follow those directions or guidelines, because the guidelines are changing, as we know, every day, depending on who
Yeah.
you talk to. It's very confusing.
Right.
You
Right.
know, you still can't just give up. You
Right.
just can't say, "Oh, well, I've been," because I mean, all the people like myself who were boosted very early,
Mhm.
early,
Yeah.
thought that was the be all and end all. We really were naive to think that that solved the problem.
Right.
And because I've gotten it, and some people, as you hear, are even getting a second relapse. So
Hmm.
you really can't, even though we're all tired, we all don't like it. We really have to persevere. We have to continue these preventive measures. And
Right.
look what's happened in the city now. They've returned to the mask mandate indoors as well, and even recommending it some outdoor events.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we're going to be able to get Mardi Gras, and that's what we're going to morph into in a little bit. But Derek, tell us a little bit what you think about that situation now before we go into the hopefully lighter spirit of the show tonight.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you that introduction was the perfect segue to our
I'm just
topic for tonight.
I'm just good
Now,
like that. I really
thank you,
am.
man. You're great. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work.
I'm
But
not
that's
only
the
looking
perfect
better,
segue
I
to the
got good
conversation we're
ideas
going to
too.
have tonight.
Yeah. Well, let's do this. You know, right now, we're in this limbo status where some people really feel, and I think it's still a potential that Mardi Gras could be shut down. I mean, I don't know how they could do that at this last minute,
Yeah.
because even though the numbers are swelling, beyond the stratosphere right now, we've
Mhm.
got, I think it was 17,000 yesterday statewide and 14,000 a day, 14, those are staggering. The hospitalizations, like 1,200 people. People are still dying. But
Yeah.
once again, the statistics are showing that 60 to 70% of these people are either catching it or getting it for the first time or unvaccinated.
And
So,
I was just looking at some statistics from the Louisiana Department of Health,
good, good.
and these numbers are based. I guess they deal with the January 13th date. Now,
Okay.
the report indicates that the Louisiana Department of Health had issues with getting the data for January 12th. So I think these numbers are effective as of January 11.
Uh,
But the totals for January 11 new confirmed cases is 9,655 people. Probable new cases 5,277, and there were 8 confirmed deaths and 3 probable new deaths.
wow.
With the total confirmed cases in Louisiana of 760,555. So those are some serious numbers.
Yeah.
Um,
I wish and I guess, we're asking too much of the stations. In the old day, early on, because vaccination was so new, and they would show just in New Orleans. I mean, on our local stations. I'm not saying all the stations, but would show what is the percentage of inoculation in Orleans Parish compared to Jefferson, St. Bernard, and maybe the North Shore. I still wish they
Now, in
gave.
terms of those who received the vaccination,
Yes, but I mean that's all they gave at that time. What I'd like to see, and they've disbanded that. Now it's
Mhm.
all statewide figures,
Right.
which I mean it's scary, and I know we need to be scared. But once again, I would like to have the individual statistics on
Mhm.
one, vaccination by parish, at least the
Mhm.
four parishes that we all are familiar with or work within, and two, the amount of new cases during that period, and or the in other words, fine tune those statistics a little bit, bring it down to our level. Not that we need to be ignorant of the other state, because the whole state is in deplorable condition, just like many states. But I think it would hit home a little bit more
Yeah.
if we also went back to and expanded the data that we're giving for our four parish area. And I
Yeah,
don't know.
you're right. It's only reporting based off of what I see, the statistics for Louisiana as a whole.
Right.
But it appears as though in Louisiana, as of January 13th, there
Huh.
are a little over 50% of the Louisiana population uh,
Vaccinated.
who is, who've been vaccinated. So that's about 57.6%
Yeah.
who
Well,
initiated the vaccination.
I think that's helpful, obviously, to show that as a state we're way behind a lot of other states. Okay,
Mhm.
but I think it's more. It's just as important, if not more. For everyone likes their own territory. Everybody's territorial about things and want to know about you. So they also went back to reporting what are the because they were kind of bragging. I know our mayor was, and because we as the first parish, Orleans, had like a very not 90% or 80%,
Mhm.
but still we were always leading in the percentage of vaccination. And
Right.
not that I mean I'm not wishing that the others don't catch up or succeed us, but I think that weekly information, at least weekly, should be
Mhm.
provided as well, and then match it up with not only the vaccinations but the cases and maybe of course the deaths, as far as they could go with bringing in the relevant for parish information beyond just the overall. I don't know why they gave it up. I guess because the statistics on the hospitalization and that got more important because it rose. But I mean, they did it all the time on the local channels until all of a sudden one day they changed to the statewide. So somebody must be collecting it. I mean, I would hope the Louisiana Department of Health, which where you went to, would have that information. And if so, I don't know why the stations won't pick that up and include it at least weekly, not daily. I understand, but at least weekly,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
people know. Because what I'm afraid of is that we're resting on our laurels. Unless we keep that going, people are going to say, "Well, we've got enough people vaccinated in Orleans."
Mhm.
You won't have enough because you never have enough until you get 100%. Which, of course, we know no place will ever get 100%. That's
Right.
just human nature. But the higher numbers we can get, the better off we are, especially post Mardi Gras. It may not help us tremendously in Mardi Gras, but it certainly will help us during the rest of the year if we can get our vaccinations and our boosters up. But
Right.
certainly just that first vaccination we just can't get up. That's what's so amazing. A
Mhm.
lot of the booster people have done it and are not as resistant as the idea of getting that first vaccination.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
don't know what it takes because they see constantly, they recognize, and all these people who are coming out, these politicians and governors who are all still anti vaxxers, and they're getting the disease and then still saying, oh, but like, I hate to get too political, but like our past president, who we all know was anti-vax, even though he created the team to do it. But now he finally admits he got it instead of using these alternative treatments, which he did in the beginning or whatever. And he's now criticizing some of his home cohorts who really are just following his initial lead. But
Mhm.
how can they do that? Whether they are the follower of him is not important. How can they continue to insist it's not helpful if they're even getting it by not getting the vaccination, or
Mhm.
or getting serious because they haven't taken the vaccine? So that's the part that astounds me, is that how you an intelligent person can continue with that philosophy when it's hitting near home, their friends, or themselves, because they can't be getting it for any other reason than lack of vaccination. What other reason could they be getting it from?
Right. Right.
That's the part I can't understand how they don't
Um,
understand.
right.
Anyway, so that's what I would like to see, and I wish, and I'm not blaming you for it because that information might no longer be public information. But I
Hmm.
know it was at least the percentage of vaccinations by parish was done for the longest, from the beginning to just a certain period of time. Probably sometime in Delta, when Delta started, all right, when it really started zapping up the numbers. And of
Right.
course, since Omicron, it's made it even worse. Anyway, what else you want to say about this before, again, we haven't wasted a lot of time, but not wasted. But I mean, if we're going to talk about, I do want to ask, I know you said you might come up with some other topics to kind of supplement. Did you think of anything? I know you've been busy with your mom, so
Yeah, I have been stretched thin this week
no problem.
and last week.
I understand. Well,
Um,
no, I'm not.
yeah,
I'm not expecting. I was, I'm just asking because I certainly don't want to deprive any thoughts or topics that you might want to include, even if it's
yeah.
an abbreviated discussion of such. You
Now,
follow?
what are your plans for Mardi Gras?
Well, that's well. The first part, of course, we're kind of talking about it indirectly.
Hmm.
You only said it was a segue. The
Hmm.
idea of how, whether you're going to make that decision as an individual or a family or whatever, a Mardi Gras crew, to actually attend Mardi Gras, some limited version or not at all.
Hmm.
You know, obviously, if I were not vaccinated and boosted, especially, I would not go out under
Yeah,
these circumstances,
yeah,
knowing that I got it already.
right.
But at the same time, you're not going to prevent it. And there's no way we're going to be able to control or monitor the Mardi Gras audience.
Mhm.
We put in controls for the riders, the people ride on the floats, or the balls when people come to the ball, or, those kind of controlled environments. They can do such with regard to presenting vaccination information and, or, requiring masks. But I just don't know what they can do for the general mass of the audience that watches the parade. I
Mm,
just don't.
yeah,
There's
I,
no
I
way they can.
I
There's
don't
no
know.
way they can check that at every point of a parade route that everyone in the crowd has gotten vaccinated. And we know for a fact we've got it. We would have to be naive not to believe that a lot, not only New Orleanians, but a lot of the tourists, which will make up a tremendous portion of that audience, will probably not have the vaccination. Now, of course,
Right.
if they're coming by plane, train, or automobile, no, well, not automobile, but bus, then they supposed to have showed some type of information there. But anything can happen from the time they've gotten that and the time they get here. But also all the nearby and local state traffic that'll come by cars. They, you know, again, how many of those, especially when we gave the state statistic, only 57, I think, percent of the state. So that's 43% of the state. Let's think if half of those people came, 20 some percent unvaccinated,
Right.
how much trouble that's going to be for them and for, even the people who've been vaccinated with the potential of them getting contaminated or reinfected. That's the
Right.
proper.
Right. Yeah, I think we're just gonna have to hope that it all turns out and there's not a repeat when this outbreak first occurred in early 2020, March of 2020.
Right.
Um, I would imagine that it's a tough call, especially considering the last time the city pretty much shut down.
Exactly.
Uh, there was a tremendous loss of taxes, and of course, that put the city in a tremendous deficit, a budget deficit.
Exactly. And
And
that's what and I'm concerned, and not that I want it shut down, more than one of the few people. I mean, I really want, and we all want it to go. But what I'm afraid of is our mayor's even admitting that there's no way, basically, without saying these words, they're going to shut it down. And that's
yeah,
because the economy and the businesses just can't take another
right,
year or even months,
yeah,
especially this month. That whole function is carry some of them through for the whole year.
right,
So even if it
right,
means we expand the number of people that are infected, we basically expanded the whole community last year before we shut it down.
hmm,
'Cause the infection was usually probably already in your system depending on when you got diagnosed. But the
Right.
spreader was the actual 2 weeks that the parade started before it actually was revealed or identified as being COVID or spreading.
Yeah.
So I think we have to do that, even if we know it's spreading,
Right.
because the city and the whole operation. I mean, we can see just with the new change of requiring people to mask indoors,
Yeah.
how detrimental it's affecting the bars, certainly the bars, but also the restaurants.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so in
It
that, so in that regard, let me ask you. Now you've got a family and all, and um, what would be your position, assuming it stays the same, that it
hmm
doesn't? Now, of course, we have that optimistic you say that maybe in 2 weeks Omicron will be gone, but we
Right.
can't count on that. We can't,
Right. Right.
even though it was quick in Kenya or in Africa, it doesn't mean it's going to be quick here or
Right.
certainly in our area.
Right.
So, under the present circumstances, with these continued high numbers, could I ask? Have you made a decision what you and or your family will do with regard to physical attendance of parades?
Honestly, I haven't.
Okay.
We are taking this on a day by day basis. Of course, as you know, my kids are in school,
Right.
and
Now,
you know,
are they actually in C2 in school or it's virtual now?
yeah, it's not virtual. Orleans Parish Public Schools are going full force. Uh, so my kids are actually in the physical classroom.
Wow. I know.
Uh,
Are they mandating masks for the kids or
yeah,
no?
they're all wearing masks, but ultimately at the end of the day, we get maybe two, three, today I think five people um, at one particular facility that test positive for COVID. And
Wow.
so it just seems as if this is just the reality that we're going to have to deal with for quite
Right.
some time.
Right. Right.
No way to get around it.
But that operational thing for the school is still not necessarily leading you to expand it to feel that you're comfortable to go to the parades with the children, right?
I, I got to be honest with you. I'm going to have to give it
Well,
some thought
sure.
because you don't want to uh, play a part in exposing your kids to a virus, but you also don't want to limit the kids' ability to get out and
Sure.
socialize.
The
So I
only thing,
guess we
yeah,
just
the
have to
only thing
wait
good
and
about it is that
balance.
the only thing good about it is that it's outdoors as opposed to indoors.
Right,
But
right,
that doesn't absolve it and make it all right for every situation
right,
because you
right,
still, because it's close together. There'll be no social distancing,
right,
during that period.
right.
Not when a parade starts, maybe before,
Yeah,
but not during the parade.
yeah,
So, and how many are going to mask outside? That's going to be minimal, I would think, to the most. Because if they have the right, they're not going to be challenged by authority or something. They'll do what they want.
right. Now, do
Okay.
you have any plans to
Yeah.
participate in Mardi
I
Gras?
was going to say, I wanted to see because you being a family man would be certainly more not only understanding but also be more meaningful to a lot of our audience and may
Yeah,
certainly have children as well.
yeah,
Me being a single old fuddy duddy, I don't have those concerns.
right, right.
My biggest concern is how much loot I can get for the kids next to me to give to them. That's my concern.
Right.
But yes, what we do, and years ago I had given, I mean, years ago, as young people, I always went. And then because I got older, and I lost kind of interest. But now that my close friend Len is, just super Mardi Gras, he rides in
Mhm.
3 parades and we have to go
Oh,
to,
that's interesting.
oh, yeah. And we go to the balls. So in fact, we got, like, I don't know, maybe 4 balls because we're also going to a ball that he's not riding in.
So, which
So,
parades will he be riding in?
well, I'm gonna go over it. So
Gotcha.
what's happened is because of my frailty, and I say frailty like I'm really, anyway, because I'm not when I'm by myself or when he's already on the float. I want to see the parade because I want to see him in it or other people.
hmm
If I have friends
hmm
like ladies in
hmm
the other
hmm
ladies parade, but no more do I go to the front of the line or fight any. I
Yeah.
bring a comfortable fold, not a fold, yeah, whatever you call those lawn chairs, the ones
hmm
that envelop you, and I sit in the back. And you won't believe they see this old fart, excuse my expression, in the back and sitting down, And it's not just the women; the men will throw me stuff too. Even if in fact, sometimes I might have said before, they'll hit me in the eye because I don't have good vision in one eye, and I
Right.
won't have seen it coming to prevent it.
Oh
But
wow.
so I get stuff whether I want it or not. So I'm there just to see the parade, the floats. Now,
Right.
no longer looking to catch stuff,
Right.
or certainly not to interact with other people about such.
Right.
So what happens is on the parades that my friend will be on, or other friends will be on. If he's on, then I have to go by myself. But we worked out a deal there, and
Mhm.
let's go over. For those who don't know, and in case we have someone on the outside, and in fact, I'm going to keep this topic up for a few weeks until we get to Mardi Gras. Maybe not taking the whole segment. And I also, if I start the day, I don't know if you heard the beginning, but if I start the day show, weekly day morning show, I'm going to focus on Mardi Gras and the individual parades because the people who are not familiar with our parades. I mean, I've been answering a lot of questions on several of the Mardi Gras groups where
Mhm.
people are coming in. I'm going to be here from the 25th to the what parades can I see? Oh, where do I go? So I'm hoping that some of that will get out, and some of those people who are not familiar with what parades are what day, they can get a little bit more information. In fact, what I'm hoping is in our future shows that we feature, we're going to show some clips, whether it be still pics or clips of like past parades. So they can, like, we have one whole parade that my friend was in last year because our friends were the king and the queens and all of
Mhm.
that group. But let's go over that. Let's just start with the beginning because I mean, yeah, well, not even a half an hour, so we got plenty of time. For those who don't know, and I'll tell you how much my friend likes Mardi Gras. We have gone on the Mardi Gras night after Rex is over. We don't stay to Mobile, driven to Mobile, and watch two parades that night. Stay over and come home the next. Or this year we were going the week before the parades start. But what happened is one of the new parades that he's riding in has the ball that weekend. So we had to change our plans. So let's go, of course, and for those who don't know me, the earliest parade, or one of the most common parades, is the Crew de Vue,
Mhm.
which is in the quarter, and that's usually the 3 weekends before Mardi Gras, if I've got it correct, and that's predominantly an adult parade. So if you're not familiar, and it's a marching parade with floats hand created by a majority or a lot of the members are artisans, painters, sculptors, all kind of talented people from the art community. However, it's also a very satirical um, parade, which is good because some of our big old floats, old time, were satirical, but mainly of the government.
Mhm.
However, this gets a little bit raunchy because they also are very geared into the sexual promiscuity of today's genre age. So there'll be some floats that mechanical things that you really, even to me, I look away, let alone a child to go to it. So even though it's the earliest parade, and if your children say, "Oh, I want to go to Crew de Vue," and da da da, it's a great parade, but please, adults, and I know the children know everything today, so young, but why flaunt that kind of stuff if you don't have to? It's not like that's the only parade in town. It might be the only
Right.
parade that night.
Absolutely. Yeah.
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 All right, but let's skip to the following week. Now, I don't have the dates. Hmm, February the let's see, 18th and 19th. I'm trying to think. The parades start. Let me think real quick. I can tell you. The parades start on. Other than that parade, it starts on the Friday, 2 weeks before, 2 weekends before Mardi Gras. So that's uh, yeah,
Looks like Crew de Vue is February 12th.
12th, right? So after that, there's nothing during the week or the rest of that weekend. That's the sole thing. So that's why a lot of people go to it because it's so hopped up waiting for the parades. But the following Friday, okay, following Friday, the 18th, is now, and for those who don't know, we have parades not only just in New Orleans Parish or New Orleans County, whatever you call it, but also in our adjacent, our next largest parish called Jefferson Parish, which might be larger than us now, I forgot. So they have some semblance. Used to be much larger, much more frequent, but they do have some. And in St. Bernard sometimes, which is another pair, has a couple, and the North Shore has some. So you don't have to come to Orleans if you're either afraid or it's too far or whatever your reason. But the Friday, the 18th, in Metairie, it's called there might be more, but the ones I'm going to because Lynn is riding is Excalibur. Excalibur is about 10 or 20 years old. It's some anniversary, and it runs. For those who are not familiar with the Metairie parades, for years it ran on the. Well, when I'm so old, I can remember when the original Metairie parades went on Metairie Road. That only went on for a few years. It was fabulous because it was like being in the quarter because it was
Mm-hmm.
a small street and it just family. It was just really great. But eventually they got so big and so large and so frequent that they consolidated the route on Veterans Boulevard or Veterans Memorial High, whatever you're familiar with, which is a 4-lane highway but separated by a canal or a huge neutral ground in between. And for years, it started at Clearview, which has a large shopping center,
Mm-hmm.
and would go toward New Orleans on one side of the Veterans. It would go up and down like another street Severn, another street Bonneville, and then disband all the way down about a block before Veterans became the dividing canal of Orleans. But 2 years ago, it changed. One, the route has been shortened and actually reversed. So the route now starts on Veterans near Bonneville, which is about the 1300 block, 1400 block, something like Veterans Boulevard. And doesn't go down to all the others, goes straight down Veterans, and then eventually winds up at the shopping center where originally it started years ago. So it's kind of reversed its route, but has taken out some of the intersections or branches that it used to do because for whatever reason. Now there's a reviewing stand because all the parades have some type of reviewing stand. In Orleans, parades that come the traditional route, the reviewing, I mean, when I say the reviewing stand, I mean the toasting reviewing. There'll be stands set up all along the route, which you might have to pay to sit in. It's not necessarily provided by the city for free. But at Garrier Hall, which was one of the original seats of government, a beautiful ionic structure on St. Charles, the mayor or the acting representative actually toasts the king or queen of each parade.
Hmm.
And there's going to be some slight changes here in Orleans in one particular one. In Jefferson, that same thing occurs on Veterans at a reviewing stand at the intersection of Veterans and Causeway Boulevard, which, if anyone knows that, across the street is this huge shopping center called Lakeside Mall, and Macy's is a big anchor that you see right there. So you can watch it if you're lucky enough to get a seat with the politicians or whatever. You can watch it on the stands that they have there, or you can watch it anywhere along that route on either side of the Veterans Boulevard on one side, and not on doesn't go on both sides between the canal, but you can stand on each side of the route that is coming down. Now, my friend Lynn, as I tell you, will be riding in Excalibur. And I'll tell you some of the things that they do. And this is very, very nice. It does cost. But I am not able, as I said earlier, because of my feebleness and state of mind, I'm not able to go down there by myself, even if I dropped off and set up a chair and fight all that. Especially if the weather would be bad. I have to have restroom facilities. I have to have a comfortable chair to support my back, stuff like that. So what he has done is that the organization sponsors a thing called the Experience. Now, it's a separate cost. But for the riders' families or friends, they can pay the fee. And listen how nice it is. Now, it's a little pricey. Okay, so it's not $10 or $20. But let me tell you what's involved. The first thing that happens is that there's a party before the parade, before the riders actually get on the floats. The floats are stationed there waiting for them to get on. At this, and I don't want to give names because that's commercials, but at this restaurant and lounge right in that area, there's a pre-parade party for the members and their families and friends, especially for those who are part of this experience. And you can have, excuse me, sorry about that. You certainly can have drinks. There might be some snacks, but it's not a meal. At the time that the riders mount on the floats, waiting for them to go to start, the people who have paid or are part of this experience, they are then chauffeured. Now, I won't say a private limousine, probably a bus, to a famous steakhouse on Causeway in that same shopping center where your dinner, steak dinner or lobster, is paid for, including wine. So that's very comfortable for me. I've been to that restaurant and the food's good. After that, once again, you're ferried to those stands we talked about, and you get to sit in one of those stands that's covered in case the wind's there raining, and you watch the parade. Finally, you're escorted back to the original place because where they originally loaded is where they also disband to that same restaurant and for a post parade party. So that's what I'm going to try and do. Now, for this old man, it sounds like a long thing. Okay. But I'm doing my best to be courteous because I want to see my friend. He was nice enough to configure this for me that I can go through this. But that's what I'll do. And then I have to admit, that will be the first parade I've seen in Jefferson and Metairie in eons, maybe 30 years.
And that's the Excalibur.
That's Excalibur Friday night. Now, there might be additional parades after that. They probably are, but I won't be staying for that. As I said, I will be ferried to the closing party to wait for him to disembark from his float.
Well, I tell you, that sounds like a bunch of fun, and it's appropriately called the experience because that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, they got a great title.
Yeah,
got a great title, because it really is. It's not just one thing; it's a whole event, a combination of events. So I'm kind of thrilled about it. I'm hoping I can make it, the whole time. But at least I have the conveniences that can support me what I need to try and make it. So that's the key. Without those things, I would not be there at all. So that's my first comment.
I think I like the sound of the Excalibur experience.
Yes, and the reason why, and I want to put a little plug in. Good friends of ours. The reason why we're seeing Excalibur and why he's riding, as well as a couple of the others that we're going to talk about that he's riding in, is because we know the owner of he has a float building firm, as well as he does a lot of the costumes. And the costumes he does, especially for the maids, the kings and all too, but the maids are the queen and the maid, are humongous feathers. I mean, sort of like the Indians, for those who are familiar with the Mardi Gras Indian, that kind of plumage, huge with logos and all on it, embedded in that accessories, whatever her theme is in color. So just the rainbow of colors, to see the maids as they come one by one on these parades or in the ball is phenomenal. So because we know this gentleman and also another gentleman who does merchandising for all the throws and stuff, they're members of all this, and that's why he participates and we participate in it. In that one, and so normally we would not do anything in Metairie. This is the first time that Len or I, he might have gone to parades years ago, but first time that he's actually participating by riding. So that's Friday night. And like I said, I know there'll be other parades. So if you are interested in going in Jefferson, the one thing good about Jefferson is parking is usually a lot easier than Orleans. But, I can't guarantee that depending on how late you go and where you want to see it. All right. So that will be out the Friday night. Okay. Hopefully.
Now that was Friday, February 18th, right?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Sir. Am I right, Lynn? Oh, okay. He's not answering, so I'm hoping that's right. The next day, okay, which is the 19th, is a bunch of parades. They have parades daytime and nighttime. And I'm just talking about Orleans. There probably may be parades in Jefferson, but we're not following those because I'm not going to those. Now,
there are parades on the West Bank, Abita Springs, Uptown, Chalmette, Metairie, Covington, Homer, and Slidell.
You got it. I, of course, don't have that because I don't drive. I don't have the leisure thing to be able to go to any of those others anyway. So I will only be seeing the Orleans parades and the ones that my friend is in. And what we do is the following. So his first parade is Saturday. It's called Sparta, Sparta, which people know kind of like the Greeks and the Trojan War and stuff like that. There's a big helmet, that type of theme or that type of spirit. That parade is the day parade on Saturday. Okay.
And it'll be uptown.
And yes, and it will be followed by I think it's the first one. I'm hoping it is.
So there's a 1 p.m. Uptown called the Crew of Pontchartrain.
Pontchartrain, which used to be somewhere else, but yeah, so that'll precede it. Does it say
Prior
what's
to that one, there's a West Bank parade. Let's see, Mystique Knights of Adonis.
Artemis?
That's it.
Artemis?
Adonis.
Oh, Adonis. AD?
Adonis.
Yeah, I don't know those.
That's the West Bank, 11:45 a.m.
There you go. See, I was trying to get this information, but my poor eyes couldn't find it. So I'm so glad you're here to give it supplement a few things.
I'm here to help you out, Bob.
Well, you're doing a better job than me. So that's great. Keep it up. Okay, so here's what I have to do. In other words, Len has to. For those who don't know, when you ride, you have to, as part of your riding membership, and you may have to pay for this separately, is a bag or a pack of things for you to throw, beads, all these kind of stuff, okay? Now, once again, besides securing that in advance, you can either load those on yourself or pay extra and they will load it on the float for you, which saves you a lot of labor because these things can be heavy, plus you have to go there. So on Saturday morning at 7 o'clock, he's going to go down to where they assemble, and that's, for those who don't know, it's called Lot H, which is right on the other side of the expressway by Chapatoulas, near the Soleil, across from Mardi Gras World.
Right.
And so he will go down there to verify they put his stuff plus any extra stuff he bought. What we're doing after that, he has to be on, all the riders for Sparta has to be on by 2 o'clock because that's when they pull out. Okay, now they won't be uptown there, they'll be downtown, but they'll go to their beginning start, which now is, of course, all the parades uptown have changed and consolidated. They actually start at Britannia Avenue and Napoleon. Before they would start on Chapatoulas or Magazine and eventually go to Napoleon and St. Charles. Okay, now so here's how kind and how we worked it out. Because I certainly can't wait all day, we go ahead and get a room reservation. So what happens is we'll be checking into, and I don't want to give a plug, we'll be checking into a very well-known hotel on Poydras, okay? And he will leave, we'll have lunch, and then he'll leave and get on the parade route, okay? I will wait because I'm going to see him not at the beginning uptown, rather at the end, because what happens is after it makes its full circle on on St. Charles, it comes back downtown and disembarks or just where it started at that lot. So what will happen is I will see him somewhere between 5 and 6 or 7 o'clock. But all I'll have to do is walk out the door of the hotel and plop my chair right there in the corner. So
that should be nice.
Ideal for me, yes.
Yeah.
Now let me mention something about this because this is also important to the ladies that we know. A few years ago, there was the largest. Well, there were two female-only organizations. They've had a couple of old female organizations like O-Line Iris. Iris is probably the longest-standing female-only parade, and it's on the Saturday before Mardi Gras, which is the next weekend. We haven't gotten there yet. We're on the first weekend. But a few years back, maybe 10 or longer, two female groups grew to be what they want to use the word super crews, which, anyway, that term is bandied around whether it's used properly or not. But we're talking about crews that have memberships in the thousands and ride thousands of ladies, okay? One of them is still in existence. That's called Muses, okay? The other one, which I won't name, ran into a big scandal and lost at least half, if not more, of its membership. Now that parade is still We'll talk about it a little. That's still parading with the smaller membership. But what happened was at least two sets of the ladies who were in this parade loved the parade. Okay. Only were involved in some financial situation, although they were afraid of that and didn't want to get involved in the workings that was causing a scandal for this organization. So they actually separated and created new female organizations.
Hmm.
One of them parades on Sunday with Ferret, and I can't, and it starts with an A or an E, I can't remember. Our friends, who were the original queens, even though they didn't call them queens, of that big supergroup parade that has scandalized, created a new one called Phoenix, Phoenix, which is, for those who know anything of their Greek or Roman stories, was Phoenix was the bird that rose from the ashes. So that's what they feel, that they were attributing their re-rise from the ashes of their previous, even though the organization was still supposedly in effect. So what happened is, for those again who don't know, New Orleans has a limit on the number of parades you can have. Okay? People just say, "Well, just add on the new. We want a new parade. Everybody wants new parades or wants new crews." If I get it correctly, and it's a little tenuous here for my mind, I thought it was 40, but I heard maybe now it's 45. Okay, but it's been fixed for some time. All right, well, you say, Bob, if somebody has thousands of people, like Endymion, how can they put them on 45 floats? Well, folks, there's always ways to get around the system, right? We all know this. One of the ways is by hooking more than one float together. It's called tandem, like in tandem together. So, like, we haven't talked about Endymion yet, and we might not get to it tonight, but that has like one float alone has like 10 tandem units together. However, for the permit purposes, it only counts for one float. So what happens is these parades, if they've got more than 45 floats and they need more because they have more members that want to ride, they can hook some of these floats to a piggyback float, maybe smaller, maybe not, that reflects the same theme, and staff that with floats, with riders. Plus, in the old days, the floats were all one level. Nowadays, they're double decker, just like the double decker buses. So there's just as many, if not more, people on both sides of the float at the top as well as at the ground level. So that also allows for accommodation of more riders. So this is what the way they've gotten around it is by coupling floats together in multiple units, and that way accommodating. So what I wanted to say, because they could not get a new permit, all the permits have been given out, but they wanted to parade, they've been allowed to, just like the other one, to form an associate membership with an existing parade. So the parade that Lynn is riding is on Saturday. Sparta is really the Sparta Phoenix parade.
Gotcha.
So the Sparta and the king and queen of Sparta and their maids, and then their floats will go. And then immediately following, there'll be very little interruption, will be the Phoenix, which is their name for their queen. And again, similar situation. So you have two parades in one. So the one parade now has increased even more because they've been able to do this. Because that was the same thing happened to the other group that will be with Ferret. And again, I don't know. By the time we do it, that's another day. So by the time we do that, I'll have the name of that.
Now we can't forget about that other female crew, the crew of Femme Fatale. The crew of Femme Fatale. I know a few ladies that are riding.
Now, when is Femme Fatale? What is the date of Femme
Sunday, February 20.
What date is that?
That is a Sunday.
Sunday. Well, we haven't gotten to Sunday yet. We're on Saturday, the 19th, right?
That's right. I'm moving ahead of myself.
Sorry, you're jumping ahead. I know you got friends, but you got now, Saturday, that's just the day parades. And like I say, there might be three. I don't know if our good friend Derek can tell us more than he said. There was a Pontchartrain, then Sparta, and I think there's another one following that. Is that right, or you don't have that?
Let's see. Sparta, we got
and that's Sparta Phoenix, which it might not show, but Sparta, what's after that?
Woo, you're gonna help me pronounce this word.
Sure.
Pygmalion.
Pygmalion.
There you go. Okay.
Pygmalion's an old character from Elizabethan ages, and anyway, it's a legendary, like a fantasy item. But anyway,
Yeah, I was more into science and math.
there you go. No problem. Anyway, so those are 3 back-to-back parades. So even though the first one starts maybe at 1 or 2, we're going to be back as soon as that one's finished. Within a half an hour, the Sparta Phoenix will be. As soon as that one finishes, within a half an hour will be Pygmalion. There's any other during the day. I know more in the evening, but I think that's all for the day, right?
Yeah, we got 11:45 a.m. on the West Bank, and then 1 p.m. Uptown,
Right.
2 p.m. Uptown, Crew of Choctaw.
Right. Oh, Choctaw.
Yeah, and then Sparta for 5:30 Uptown.
Okay.
And that
Pygmalion?
last one at 6:15.
Okay. So again, as I mentioned, even though I will be, I'm sorry?
Total of 6 parades starting at 11:45 a.m.
Can't beat that. You're going to be so tired. Now, I don't have any intention of seeing 6 parades.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to see 2, and those are the ones together, the Sparta and the Phoenix, because I know a lot of the ladies on that parade, plus I know Lynn on the front part of the parade. So I'll watch that for the comfort of my little chair right in front of the hotel, and then I'll go indoors. Now, I want to brag because in between the afternoon and the evening parades, or before I see Sparta, I will be dining with someone else at a lovely, very nice restaurant right across the street. So that'll give me something to eat at night at 5 o'clock before their parade comes. But I'll watch their parade, which hopefully about 7. Then I'll go up to the room. Now, when he's finished, again, these parades have post-parade parties. So he may or may not go to that depending on his condition, especially when he's done a parade the next night. And even more so, Sunday morning, you ready for this? All of those people have to do another parade Sunday morning.
Busy schedule.
Yes. So that's why we're staying in the hotel, because he can come and collapse whenever he's finished his ride or after the parade party. I can take it leisurely. And then in the next morning, we'll get up, go to breakfast early, and he will then go to his Sunday morning float parade. It's called King Arthur. Once again, a very well Arthurian legend. Most people have heard about King Arthur and the Round Table and Excalibur, the sword that was in the stone. So again, it's a great parade, and all of these parades, that gentleman either makes the floats and or makes a lot of the plumed costumes. And so that's why they are beautiful parades. Even some of them are prettier than some of the most well-known parades from the costume standpoint.
Now, King Arthur is going to roll at 1 p.m. Uptown.
Okay. All right. Well, what's in the morning?
In the morning, we have 11 a.m. Uptown, the crew of Femme Fatale.
Femme Fatale. Let's talk about that, because that's your ladies. Tell us about that one.
Yeah. So I don't know much about them other than I know
probably it's a relatively
workers and friends. They're going to be riding.
It's a relatively new crew. I mean, not 1 year, but maybe less than 5 years, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, so
I've seen them do a lot of work in the community.
Good. So that's where you know a lot of the folk from.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me just add, and I forgot. Okay, and one of the things I forgot to tell the people watching is that nowadays, in the old days when it first started, beads were the only thing they threw. Okay, all kind of beads, purple, gold, any kind of beads. And they got bigger, they got better, but it was all beads until 1961, when Rex, the King of the Parade, which is on Mardi Gras Day, introduced a silver anodized aluminum doubloon, which became the most popular throw probably in Mardi Gras history, even more than the beads from a popularity standpoint. Okay, so in fact, there were huge groups of people collecting them. They would sell them and make money. After about 10 or 15 years, they went by the wayside. So people still collect them, but they don't really get any kind of value. It's just the idea of putting a whole collection together that someone might buy if they want to collect it. So what's happened, though, since that group when we tell you about those two female groups that we haven't talked about yet, that started on the Wednesday and Thursday night upcoming, they created or started pioneering a signature throw item. Besides doubloons, besides beads, besides any kind of other idea, you can, the merchandisers go crazy with creating pins and you name it. They have something that relates that they can throw for Mardi Gras. But they decided to come up with a unique concept for their members to throw. Okay.
What is it? Do you know what they're going to be throwing?
Yes, and a limited supply, and more so, they would have to be decorated. So the first two was the lady's shoe, and we'll talk about that later, and the other one was the purse. But now what's come up on the ones we're talking about on the Phoenix, the ladies with the Phoenix are throwing charger plates or platters. I don't know if you know what a charger plate is. A plate, everyone knows what a dinner plate. To make it decorative, there'll be a larger plate that it sits on. It's an aesthetic thing, okay?
Gotcha.
So they will decorate those and throw those. Sparta will throw, I forgot, okay? But now let's go to the next day. Now, Femme Fatale will throw, what did they throw now? Did they throw compacts? Yes, so they've taken the ladies' compact. That's a term that some people, they don't even know what it is. We're running out of 10. And that's like the old days. I remember my mom used to have a compact. She'd open up, there'd be a mirror, and she would dap on her cheeks some rouge or whatever they decorate like a clown. So now they're doing those, but they put in glitz, glamour, jewels, and that's what Femme Fatale. So if you're lucky enough, like Derek, obviously, if he goes, he will be bombarded with so many of these throws. And you know what he's going to help do, which we're going to do? We're going to be giving some of these things away on this show. So we're going to show you how, we haven't even introduced this yet, a giveaway whereby if you're watching the show, your name could be called and you'll win some of these unique items. No one else, they might have a compact, but more than likely it'll be different than the one you have. And again, they usually limit the number of throws to like 25 a person. So even though, and not everybody wants to go to that trouble. It's so much easier just to buy beads or doubloons or whatever rather than go to the creativity. But that's what makes them now the most collectible items are these signature items. Now, King Arthur, which we said will follow Femme Fatale because they're carrying the theme. Oh, I think Sparta is a shield then? He didn't answer. I thought I remember what Sparta is. But King Arthur actually throws these plastic goblets, like a beautiful stem goblet. Now, the thing is, you can't just, they come in either white or silver color, but you can't just throw that. You have to paint them, you have to decorate, and you have to have a theme. Each one's got to have a unique look. So Len works not all year, but he opens up his workshop, and this year he's done things traditionally purple, gold, and green on a lot of them, but he's done things honoring the Olympics that are coming up, stuff like that. So these things he will give out at his parade. So when you see King Arthur, ask for a goblet. And everyone should have some, so that way you can get one. And we will, as another thing, when it's getting closer to King Arthur, we will show some of the wonderful ones that he's made, as well as some of the ones he's collected. So you can see the extent of the work and the time that they had to do to create these things. So they become valuable in their own right. So again, it's almost time to close. So let's stop here. I know I've taken, as you, too much time, but there's so much parts of Mardi Gras. Now, again, I'm going to tell folks, if you're up and about and you'd like to speak more, and of course, no one's called. Derek, you got to do a better job of reminding during the show the phone number of people to call. I don't think we got any comments. Another thing, I didn't even look at comments, which is outrageous. So, where's the comments?
So we've got about 7 more days of parades to cover.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're going to cover that. You seem to be the authority on.
Oh, there you go.
Mardi Gras.
Oh, he's taking the easy way out again, folks. You hear him, huh? You hear what he's doing. I knew he'd do that.
Setting it up for the spike.
Very good, very good. Anyway, um, so what we will do is again, please, tomorrow morning. I think I'm gonna try and do it from 10 to 11, or maybe 9 to 11. It won't be any longer than 11. Check us out. Come on any of my website. You might now Derek won't be on, so you can't go to his website or his platforms. But any of my Facebook platforms, Bob Bockelman, NOTVIN, or the New Deal, my YouTube channel, or Revue, the Twitter Live, Bockelman Bob, the um, LinkedIn Live. I forgot we're on LinkedIn Live too, all Revue. So catch us on that one of those, and please make a comment. And it's going to be only on Mardi Gras. And each one that I do from now on will be focused more on Mardi Gras. There won't be too much overlap, but we want you to call and comment so we can discuss. So it won't just be presenting. Of course, you can see I do it. I'm long-winded, but that gets aggravating after a while. But at the same time, I want people to get interested. So think of it as a call show. You're not going to be shown. You're not going to be a picture of you. So just call the number, that local number, 504-383-3654, and just say hello to Bob. And say anything you want to say about whether you're going to Mardi Gras, what's your favorite part of Mardi Gras, anything like that. So check us out. You'll see a notification between 9 and 10 of when we're going on. And we'll see how well I do it, if I can hold up. And then we'll continue that with some regularity if we get some viewers. Okay, till such time. Derek, anything for next week, or anything you want to tell the folks between now and next week?
Well, just stay safe and mask up, and we're going to do our best to get through this coronavirus.
Okay, and I'm going to charge him with two things. Try and give us those statistics again next week, as well as see if you can see on that website whether they might be some of the statistics I'm looking for with regard to the 4 parishes, the vaccination rate, the hospital, any of those things that they have.
Yeah, I'll see if I can carve out the data specific to Jefferson and Orleans.
I think it'll bring a little bit more meaning home to us, where we particularly, because that's what we focus on. The big numbers are just scary, but we don't know how much we're contributing to that big number, and that's what we need to know.
Right.
Okay. Well, and also next week, maybe you'll let us know if you're looking, what you're feeling about whether you think there's a chance that you might attend some of these parades.
I sure will.
We'll see what progress you're making with that week to week. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you again for your co-hosting. You're great. You're doing all the things I don't do, so that's phenomenal.
Hey, this is all new to me, Bob. So I'm just rolling along with it.
He's a young pro. Excuse me, not an old pro. All right, folks. Well, we really appreciate sticking with us, because we've had some people all the way through here, so that's really great. I'm glad you stick, because we are over an hour, and I know today's an hour is like 5 hours to the ordinary person. Right. So, but at the same time, we want to cover things in depth, like we're doing tonight, as opposed to just talking about, the parades are here. Then, we want to give that kind of insight for those who've never seen a parade to know which ones are in store. And we're going to tell you about more treats where you can actually see some functions of the parades with us in the future. So I'll give you a lot of teasers. Okay, for now, thank you again, Derek. Thank you, people. And we'll see you next week. Same time, hopefully same channels. All right,
Bob. Until next time, stay safe.
Thank you so much, sir. Take care.